My Hero Academia fans right now. We are going bonkers crazy, just through the moon after the huge revelation that we've been waiting a long time. Fans have speculated, fans have basically been convinced for a while that Dabi from the League of Villains is actually Toya Todoroki, the son of Endeavor, brother of Shoto, and we finally got the major reveal. And wow, 290 chapters in My Hero Academia are still blowing minds in the midst of this giant war that I thought was about to end a while ago, and we still going, baby. This chapter, it was mind-boggling. The war is still going. Shigaraki is not slowing down. Well, I guess you could say maybe slowing down a little bit, but shit is going crazy. And yo, Toya, baby, let's dance in hell with your son. Oh my gosh, Dabi. Damn, R.I.P. Endeavor's reputation at this point. Like, shit is out the window. Yo, y'all ready? Y'all ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's talk some of that My Hero Academia greatness. Dabi, baby, let's do it. This shit is wild.
I say we gonna do what we do, no matter how you move, make your move. That's how it be, though.
Okay, so I think majority of us were convinced that at some given point we were going to find out that Dabi is indeed Toya, Endeavor's son, Shoto's brother, because there was just a lot of arrows pointing that way. So it's not like it was a surprise, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing, because like it's quote unquote predictable, because the way you do a reveal can change it all. It doesn't have to necessarily be like, okay, it was, predictable. But to be honest with you, the execution is where it really will determine how this played out. And the way Dabi did it with the TV screens, his mama seen it, the world seen it, ruining Endeavor's reputation in front of Endeavor's face at the same time, Shoto being there, like all the chess pieces aligning, and it wasn't forced. It wasn't like some random hawk just grabbed Shoto and grabbed Endeavor and flew away and brought them to Dabi. Like, everything led to this point very nicely, and let's dance. Because the chapter opens up with Shoto's mom in the hospital. Doctors are like, yo, we gotta turn that TV off ASAP, because we see on the screen Dabi in a pre-recorded message to seemingly the world. We find out that it's basically been broadcast all over. He is saying something, and the thing that I'm kind of wondering, right, is why would the doctors be like immediately, turn it off, she was just getting better? Like, y'all don't know, because I think at that point he still hasn't said like, hey, I'm Endeavor's, unless we're playing around with like the time of like, hey, in the beginning at that point he already had said that I'm Endeavor's son, so maybe that's why. Because if not, why the hell would the doctors be rushing saying turn it off, her mind is gonna shatter? So that was something I was a little bit like, okay. I mean, at the end of the day, just seeing a villain on the TV might have been, though, what they were trying to avoid. Like, yo, her seeing some scarred up dude on the screen is probably not the best thing for her mental health. And I gotta say, too, the fact that Dabi knew his mom would be watching this, like, that's so screwed up. Like, yo, why would you put your mom through that? I mean, I guess at this point he doesn't really care, because he wants the whole world to see what type of a piece of shit Endeavor is. But wow. We cut to All For One saying, thank goodness Makia is here, because this little bitch ass motherfucker don't want to listen to me. He don't want to go. So Makia is, which a lot of us have said already, is the point that is going to be able to take Shigaraki away from this battlefield, because how much more can he really go? All For One says like, yo, the beating he took from One For All, from Deku, and then the burning that he got, like, he got burned to a crisp a million times by Endeavor, and he was only 70-something%. So definitely, like I've been saying, honestly, it's kind of him stating to a certain degree the obvious to the readers at the very least, like, yeah, Makia, you need to get this guy out of here ASAP, because if not, it's going to be all bad. Which I'm wondering, why doesn't, like, obviously Shigaraki's been fighting off All For One taking control, but does he have no access at this point to completely take over? Because all it would take, I'm imagining at this point, would be All For One to pop up one more time and order Makia, listen, I'm your original master, take us out of here ASAP. And Makia would probably comply, unless Makia at this point, like, even though he's still like smelling two masters essentially at this point, because it's been passed down, maybe he wouldn't listen. He would only follow Shigaraki's orders. That's going to be interesting to see. Like, imagine if All For One comes out and says that, and Shigaraki says, no, don't listen. Again, who would Makia listen to? And shout outs to Shoto, because despite the whole Dabi situation, right then and there, he's like, yo, I can't tango with Makia, but let's take out Shigaraki ASAP. And he's going in, and I'm like, yes, I've been saying it. I was not happy. I was not good with Shoto being a first aid guy. Like, that's not what I want to see in this gigantic war, and especially now that we're coming down to the wire. Like, everybody that should be on the battlefield, minus, I guess, the Liberation Army. Like, kind of, now that I think about it, what is the Liberation Army up to? Like, Redestro, where you at? So, curious there, but, you know, the big players are pretty much all there. Makia has finally arrived. Deku, everybody that should be there is there at this point, minus, I guess, Best Genius, which he's probably going to show up at any time, because that's where a lot of us are thinking that was him on the helicopter ride, I think it was, over to the battlefield. And Shoto and Hado start throwing blasts and shit, and I'm like, yo, this is great, because if you think about it, the other two members of the big three have already, or the former big three, I gotta keep on clarifying that, like the new big three is Bakugo, Todoroki, and Deku. The former was Medio and them. The other two already had their moments, like, you know what I'm saying? In the overhaul arc alone, the both of them had their moments, and Hado really hasn't had her time to shine, so her being a part of there, on top of that, I believe her teacher was there knocked out as well. This makes for a perfect moment for her to shine, and just seeing her and Todoroki working together, Shoto, I'm like, yes, baby, this shit is dope. Or, well, at the very least, it looked like it was about to be dope, because then Gigantomachia starts swinging boulders around, and Endeavor's like, run! Yo, Endeavor's so fucked up, it's crazy. He's like, yo, I got a punctured lung, I'm desperate trying to breathe at this point, like, yeah, this war has really taken its toll on the people on the battlefield. And Ida, which I feel as though the role that Todoroki has played up until this point, being like a first aid and grabbing people, I'm glad Ida's on the battlefield, because that's more appropriate for him. Like, him grabbing Bakugo, even though Bakugo, which he's like kind of halfway out of it, he's like, no, this is gonna destroy my perfect plan, or whatever the hell he says. Like, no, you need to relax. And Ida being there again, that's the best role for him to play. Grab motherfuckers and run. He can probably outrun the decay. Run. Grab him. Run. Don't let Bakugo talk. Don't let Bakugo do nothing. He's damn near dead at this point. Just grab him and run. And Giganto's like, yo, he's waiting for orders at this point. Even Spinner is noticing that Shigaraki's down bad right now. It's like, God damn. I'm just so excited right now that finally, because it's been how many chapters at this point? Makia's been on the prowl heading towards this battlefield, and he's finally arrived, and he's like, Master, what the fuck is going on, lad? And then slowly creeping into the Dabi scenes, Endeavor's like, yo, I gotta put a stop to this. I'm the #1 hero, even though I'm desperately trying to catch a breath because one of his lungs is punctured at this point. Dabi shows up and he's like, oh, lads, I didn't fucking see you there, mate. And of course, the pieces are all set. Dabi's like, oh, even Shoto's here. Perfect. And then when Endeavor's like, yo, Dabi, what are you doing? He's like, yo, is that any way to address Toya, bitch? I'm Toya. I'm Toya. Yeah. The big reveal is here. And to be honest with you, in terms of being surprise, in terms of predictability, come on, we all saw it a mile away. But the way it was done, again, like I said earlier in the video, the execution of the reveal of Toya Todoroki was... I rocked with it heavy. Again, we knew, yes, and it's probably been long overdue at this point of like, when are we gonna see this thing that we already know and it's being kept as a surprise? But the fact that the way Horikoshi did it, him showing up on Gigantomachia's back, the hair dye thing, somebody pointed out to me, because in the spoiler video I talked about like, I don't know how I feel about the whole hair dye situation, but then they brought up the fact of like Red Riot and that stuff, so I guess hair dye has been implemented into the series, but I just would have preferred it to be like, no, my hair is black now because of X, Y, and Z, the burns, something along the lines of that. But him washing out the hair dye and shit to really give more of an impact, I think that was okay. I think it was a visual thing. It was like a visual cue of like, no, I am Toya Todoroki, here's the big reveal. Instead of it being like a mask, you know, taking off the mask, I guess the hair color, the hair dye was supposed to be the mask. But I don't know, I was just like, yes, finally. I knew it was coming, but I was very not pleasantly surprised. I was just happy it was finally here. And seeing Shoto and Endeavor's reactions, them being shocked like a motherfucker, I was like, holy shit, baby. Because they were there just like in disbelief at this, because you gotta imagine, like, we're in the middle of a war. Like, their minds is not even on that shit right now, right? Like, no matter how deep of a wound that is to Endeavor's life of, like, you know, his son that passed away, we've seen him in the previous arc praying and all that shit to the photo of his deceased son and all that stuff. That's not on their radar right now. So when Dabi shows up and says, hey, by the way, I know there's a giant monster here that you're scared of and you think you gotta kill, and there's also been another monster over here that was stepping on you like he was the Statue of Liberty on top of you. I know all of that shit, but by the way, on a personal level, I'm your son that you thought was dead, bitch. And we see that on top of it all, that Dabi, you know, teaming up with the League of Villains, being there with Gigantomachia, all of that jazz, this recording that was playing for the mom in the first, you know, part of the chapter or whatever, is being broadcast worldwide, and essentially Dabi says that he's been thinking for a long time, how can he ruin Endeavor's life, because this broadcast is of Dabi telling his life story, how Endeavor neglected him, how he wanted to die, he used to cry to his brother Natsu almost every night, this, that, and the third, basically exposing Endeavor's past of how fucked up he was. And you gotta think and imagine, because My Hero Academia to a certain degree is inspired by modern society. So like cancel culture is about to have, like, it's done. Like they are going to be forced to retire Endeavor. So essentially I am almost certain at this point, if he doesn't die, which I still think those flags is up there, even though his family was moved and the whole dream of his family living without him, a lot of people said that maybe that was the whole dream, and that was the whole foreshadowing of just like he's not going to be able to live with his family. I think the best way at this point, if Dabi has exposed him and society is going to look at like, yo, this dude has gave birth to a son that has killed 30 people mercilessly, cold blood, gave birth to, you know, this child that because of his greed and because of his desperation of surpassing all might, as Dabi is explaining in the video and shit like that, people aren't gonna, even if this war ends and Endeavor survives, he is 100% like, there's going to be another new #1 hero at this point. Like after this arc, it's over. Either Endeavor dies or he's going to be forced to step down by UA and by the public. The public is going to pressure it. There's no way in hell. Take it as, I guess, early confirmation, in my opinion, that new #1 hero after this arc, assuming we even have this whole league and all this shit with the destruction that has come from Shigaraki and Gigantomachia. There might not even be a #1 hero system at this point, which I'm kind of curious. And if you're watching at this point, drop a comment who would be the next #1 hero if the system continued after Endeavor is forced to step down or even dies. Because again, I think his death would be, at this point, if he's exposed to the public, they're looking at him like he's this piece of shit, him sacrificing himself to save people on the battlefield and shit would be the best way to wrap it up and, I guess, redeem himself in the public eye. I feel as though he's tried his best to redeem himself with his family. He's trying to be a better man now that, you know, he kind of reached his goal. And it's just, it's a sour situation. It's really, really fucked up. And on a personal level, it's like you're taking this personal, sad family, you know, intimate family trauma, and you're putting it into this grandiose war. And it's like, Horikoshi, he's doing some big things, man. He's doing some interesting things. He's doing some, again, personal things of like, this is something that probably shouldn't be broadcast to the world, but Dabi made sure to add that in totality of everything else bad that has happened during this war. And it's kind of messed up, right? Because I guess it's a clashing of ideals, the way people look at society, the way people see things of like, Endeavor at this point has been trying his best to make up for the mistakes that he has made in the past, right? Like, you know, he's trying to be a better person for his family, gave them a house away from him. He's trying to be a real, true #1 hero from his own merits, not following in All Might's bootstraps, all of that stuff. Cool beans. But with Dabi showing up, it's almost like what Dabi says in a way has some value. It's not completely like, oh, you could just dismiss it as like, he's an evil villain. Like, this is the son that everyone thought died, that was traumatized beyond belief, and is still here. And he's like, yo, you cannot destroy the past. The past will not die. And it's like, well, if Endeavor made mistakes in the past, very, very big ones, is he not allowed redemption? That's something that I guess you could argue right there of like a clashing of ideals. Like, is there no redemption for somebody no matter how much they've done to try and make up for the mistakes that they made? Yeah, he was a horrible person, a horrible father, a horrible husband. You know, his wife ended up in a crazy home, all of this shit. But is there no redemption no matter how much he's done? And Dabi coming back from the past is like, you know, your demons always come back to haunt you. And ooh, man. And the chapter ends with Dabi saying, you reap what you sow, so let's tango a dance in hell with yo son. And I'm like, oh my gosh, another one of the craziest reveals, one of the craziest chapters of this My Hero Academia war thus far, of the series thus far. That was a huge reveal that a lot of people, again, even if we thought it was, even if we were certain like, yeah, Dabi has to be Toya Todoroki, the way it was displayed, the way it was executed, the whole world finding out what a piece of shit Endeavor was, is crazy. And honestly, like, oh shit, huge chapter, freaking insane. Very curious what you guys thought about this chapter though. How did you feel about Dabi exposing Endeavor? If there is a new, which again I'm almost certain there's going to be a new #1 hero, whether again if it's Endeavor's death or Endeavor having to step down due to society pressuring, who will be the next #1 hero? Is there even going to be a hero ranking system at this point after this war? Where do you think it's all going to go from here with Gigantomachia being on the battlefield? Because like Dabi's reveal is cool and all, but there's still a giant war going on. There's still a giant literally right behind him. There's still Shigaraki on the battlefield. Like, how do you see all this playing out moving forward? And to be honest with you, I feel as though Todoroki's mom, Dabi's mom, Toya's mom, all of that, I think she's going to be alright after this. I don't think that this is going to shock her back into a traumatic state. This is going to probably be sad, but I think she's already forgiven Endeavor, in my opinion. I think to a certain degree, a lot of them. I think Todoroki don't want to accept it, Shoto don't want to accept it, but I think he's already forgiven his father. It's just hard to muster up those words, and yeah, Dabi, you sly motherfucker, you're a piece of shit as well, like airing out your family drama. That's like those little motherfuckers that be on Instagram, like exposing their parents and all that shit. Is like, god damn, you doing the most right now. Like, Dabi, are you a part of Gen Z, fam? And your overall thoughts and expectations for the My Hero Academia manga with chapter 291 and beyond. This was a crazy banger, baby. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld. And as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule. Anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace and yeah, Endeavor. It's time to have a little bit of a dance-off with your son in hell. This shit is crazy, yo. My Hero Academia, this war 2020 has really fucking taken my love for My Hero Academia to another plateau. And this chapter is just another example of I rocks with it so heavy. Yeah.
It's nights like this, and times like this, that I can give another hit. But I've got this inside a switch, a natural bliss, but that I miss.